The focus of this module is the creative arts. When we talk about creative arts, we're going to talk about art, music and movement, and drama. So planning and preparation, of course, is a very important step in including music and art activities in the classroom that are developmentally appropriate. For music and movement, you don't need a lot of materials. You definitely do need room to move around. A lot of preschool classrooms have a circle time area, but particularly on days when maybe the children can't go outside due to the weather, you may need a bit bigger room and let children move even more than normal. So you may need to move some tables out of the way to create more space. If you're really fortunate, you have access to a gym or a larger area for children to engage in movement activities as well and dance. You can use, of course, pre-recorded music, and you should have instruments for the children to play. We always got the instruments out on birthdays, and we'd sing happy birthday and let everyone play an instrument, but other times as well, of course. In my classroom, I always had colorful scarves for children to dance around with. I actually had a CD of songs all to be used with the colorful scarves. One of them was Let's Go Fly a Kite, and we'd pretend like the scarf was a kite. I also had a CD of songs to use with circles, so each student could have a hula hoop. I also made just paper circles for them to use that were a little bit smaller than that, and it would say jump inside the circle or outside, walk around the circle, things like that. So they were learning those position words as well as getting some movement in and having fun with their classmates too. Multicultural music is important, especially if you have a very diverse group of students. You'll want music that represents the cultures of the children in the classroom. But my students enjoyed listening to music from different cultures, even if it wasn't their own culture. So I had one album that was multicultural rhythm stick songs. And so we had a class set of rhythm sticks, and the children could hear music from countries all over the world, and on this CD they would give them directions about what to do with the sticks. So it would tap in front or tap them on the ground and tap them behind your back and things like that. Sometimes we would march around tapping our sticks. So there's lots of different music activities that are very directed, but it's important to also, of course, include music activities that let the students have more creative expression. And then you can also include materials for children to make their own instruments. Some kind of shaker or maraca is pretty easy. You just find a container and then you can fill it with rice or beans to make the shaker. Drums, lots of different things can be drums. I saw a music teacher give each child a paper plate to tap on, and they were just tapping gently and singing songs about the rain. So that was kind of a cool activity. And then I did do rainmakers with my preschoolers. They're a bit difficult to make. You could make I had each child make their own, but because of the difficulty level, I would recommend maybe making a few for the classroom. But what you can do is take a toilet paper roll or a paper towel roll, stick toothpicks all over through the roll, and then I would clip off the ends of the toothpicks and hot glue them, and then you'd put something to cover the bottom. I would just cut out like a cardboard or cardstock circle that would fit and tape that on. Tape it on really well, of course, and then again put rice or beans inside and put a top on it. The cool thing about the rainmakers was the children could draw a picture on a piece of paper that was the right size to then roll around the rainmaker and tape or glue that on so that they could decorate it themselves. So when we talk about art in early childhood, we're talking about 2D and 3D art. So children should have opportunities to create both two-dimensional and three-dimensional pieces of art. You can have easels in your classroom. I had a couple of easels that was a favorite center activity for children. You can have obviously different colors and sizes of paint or paper, excuse me, as well as paints, markers, crayons, pencils, glue, and tape. Clay or Play-Doh is a great material for 3D artwork. Play-Doh and clay, that's great because if children start creating something and it doesn't turn out the way they want it to, it's very flexible and they can just roll it into a ball and start again. You can also have a type of maker space with recycled materials for children to create 3D collages or 3D artwork. Again, you can use those cardboard tubes, small cardboard boxes, egg cartons, just all kinds of recycled materials, and natural materials are great for that as well. There is a spectrum of teacher-directed to child-directed activities. So on one end, the activity is totally teacher-directed. On the other end, it's totally child-directed. So a lot of activities fall somewhere in the middle. It is good to allow children the opportunity to be creative and do their own work, but it might be a little more teacher-directed when you're introducing new materials, when you first start the school year, or if you're introducing a new type of strategy, those kinds of things. Or, when you want the whole class, for example, I think it's on my next slide, to do a self-portrait. I did those multiple times a year to show the progression of the child's artwork. So sometimes they are a little bit more teacher-directed, but child-directed art should always be an opportunity at center time. That center should always be available for children who want to express themselves through art. So you can also think about children's interests and then themes or projects coming up. So if your language arts curriculum has a farm theme coming up, you may want to think about ways for them to show what they learn about different animals and farms through their artwork. Oh, I'm sorry. I also, on the last slide, I had written process over product. So the focus should be on the process of creating the artwork, not necessarily the finished product. So with art activities, particularly visual art activities, you do typically have a finished project, although if you are just finger painting, you may not. But the focus should be on the process. So as long as children are enjoying it and they are learning through that, if they just have access to those art materials and the time to explore those. Particularly if we're talking about infants or toddlers, they are just in the scribble stage, so they're just enjoying taking the markers or crayons and learning that they can make a mark on the paper. Also on the last slide, I had written the little boy poem that's in the module. I do want you to read that and think about really fostering creativity in young children, because just like all children are naturally curious and wanting to learn about the world around them, young children are naturally creative and wanting to create and to express themselves in that way. So it's our job to foster that and not diminish that creative spirit. So here's some examples of visual arts activities that I've done with preschoolers and kindergartners. Of course, self-portraits is a common one, as well as family portraits. Again, I would do self-portraits 3 or 4 times in a year and add them to the child's portfolio so you could see how their fine motor skills progressed, as well as their planning and the detail in their artwork. There's lots of opportunities to integrate science and art. Again, so I mentioned the farm theme, but if they do an animal encounter in the classroom, if you have someone come and visit, or if you go on a field trip somewhere where they're learning about animals, they can show what they've learned about those animals through art, either, again, 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. An example is when we hatched the chicks with my own children, then I got out the clay and invited them to create a baby chick out of clay. So that was kind of a fun activity. Seasonal activities are a favorite. That could be as simple as you've got the paint center up and it's Christmas time, so add some Christmas colors in the paint easel, or it's almost Valentine's, so you're going to put some red and pink and white there. But again, you can encourage them, or give them ideas such as, oh, it's snowing today. Maybe you could draw a picture of your favorite thing to do in the snow. And you might do that for a journal prompt as well. Have them write and draw about a particular topic. But again, leave some of the decisions up to the children. That goes along with the process over product. So we don't want, it's really not a creative activity if we do a cut and paste sort of activity where the teacher shows a penguin that she has cut out of construction paper and every child is going to create something that looks exactly the same. There may be a purpose for that. It might be fine-tuning their fine motor skills, learning how to use the glue and the scissors, but it's really not a creative arts activity. So again, you're going to introduce new materials and strategies with art time or art projects. Have the Paint and Art Center open every day for children. Again, they can draw and write in their journals. When I taught half-day preschool, we did writing in their journals once or twice a week. But if it's a full-day program, that's probably going to be a daily activity. And then again, they may have a separate journal for their nature journal or their science journal as well. Don't forget about the 3D art. When I had to be observed in my classroom for ECHRS, for the Early Childhood Environment Rating Scale, one of the items on there actually talks about, do you have two-dimensional and three-dimensional art on display in the classroom? So that is really important to give them that opportunity, just a different way to express themselves and different materials to work with. And then you can also work on art appreciation and learning about different artists. My daughter enjoyed learning about Van Gogh's Starry Night and then creating some similar types of artwork. You can, again, when you're introducing different artists, you can talk about different strategies. You can talk about illustrators of children's books. Some early childhood classrooms do a study on Eric Carle, for example, and then children are already familiar with that artist, so that could be a fun way to incorporate an artist that they already are familiar with. For music activities, really you can incorporate music throughout the day. Just like art, you can do music, listening to music and music appreciation and different types of music. Music is great for transitions. Sometimes I would sing a song about washing our hands or lining up at the door. And sometimes you're probably familiar with a cleanup song. So that can be used for a lot of different transition times. You can play calming music for quiet time in your classroom, particularly if you do have a nap time. That can help children calm down and relax. You can use music to teach different concepts throughout the day, math concepts, days of the week, all of those kinds of things. Music is great for building community. I had a song that I think I got from the Mailbox magazine, but it was to the tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And it was, welcome, welcome to our class. We are glad you're here at last. Samantha, can you hear your name? Shake your instrument in this game. So that was a fun way for us to quickly welcome each child and start to learn each other's names. You can use music to teach locomotor skills and, of course, get exercise. And again, music should also be used for creative movement. Nursery rhymes are a great way to use music as well, and that teaches them to begin rhyming words. And then drama is also an important part of the early childhood classroom. So dramatic play should be an interest area in the classroom, and it has many unique language and social development benefits, so it's a really important area in the classroom. But also, there can be drama activities with the whole class or small groups. So I've had lots of really good experiences acting out favorite stories with the preschool or kindergarten class. One of my favorites, which I kind of got from my cooperating teacher when I was student teaching in kindergarten, we acted out The Three Billy Goats Gruff. If you're not familiar with the story, I encourage you to read it. But the goats, each one, there's a small one, a middle-sized one, and a large one, and they each trip-trap over the bridge with the troll underneath it. And so in our classroom, we allowed the children to actually go on top of a desk and trap over the bridge. They had headbands on to show their character. And then you can put down a big piece of green paper on one side of the table to be the meadow, and they can color it with grass and flowers, and then you can put blue paper underneath the bridge for the water, and they can color fish on it. Anyway, that was really a fun time to act out that story. Another one is The Little Red Hen. You can act out stories with puppets or with, I think Lakeshore makes like some little storytelling kits, which are really fun, so you can do that way. Or again, have the children be the actors. I had a book with headbands that you could photocopy for the different characters, and that's what we did for the Three Billy Goats Gruff. Puppets are a great tool in early childhood also to foster language development, learn about feelings and social skills and getting along as well. And if I had to do it over, I think I would have a puppet making station in my classroom so that children could make puppets out of paper bags, or they could make sock puppets, or different types. I think that would be really fun, that they could make their own puppets and then play with them.